Thank you, and thank you, readers. That was very moving for me. I don't really listen to my poetry that much. I enjoyed it. Old people used to say to me, "Don't get old." Unfortunately, I didn't pay any attention, and this is the result. I'm going to read the last two poems in my book, Breezeway, which came out earlier this year. And I'll read some more recent ones. This is a prose poem called Be Careful What You Wish For, exurb. What were you driving at when you said, "Used to joke I'm in the retirement business. The snow is beginning to fall again. I'm wondering whether I should go out." How can you give orders when nobody is listening? A friend and two boys. Here where love was quiet, it was possible to think discontinuously of the folds ahead, Faith on a tricycle, only it. Or she got a hole in her dress. It was 1,000,000 to 1 it was something bad. The windows rattled as the train swept through at breakfast. You may want to rethink that decision, bother the others. It was right there in his military book. You would have 2 oracles, snow. You knew that. Everybody did. My dynasty, confessions of a lily from a wire. That was a terrible thing to do purely naked. Groveling conditions apply, not to go all agony aunt on you. You're not ready for this. No poet is. Only you already came. The crane doesn't know if the weather will return. I don't want it. I don't give a shit. Something that would have fell, the potato orchard with attached oriental kitchen. They don't say please in heaven. All business is carried out in the pre-noon hours, leaving time for naps and reflection. This is the kind of life I was supposed to lead. What happened, you ask? Cutie pie went bye-bye. Only the hypnotic hour of 12 has struck. You're like any other paying guest, waiting for the intoxicating smell of burgers to waft up the stairway. When Doc moved back to our area, he noticed the wretched smiles, legacy of our previous God. Who, he wondered, enjoys this kind of ambience? And sure enough, it was Independence Day, and word went out, it's the right day, but the wrong month. Go back to sleep. And they did, writing in the grass. The Fuller brush man, clean-jawed, stopped by. See you down there. Let me know. Just because Scooby-Doo thinks you should. Dirt officials implied a small little bomb, and sleep trying to find them. Now I approve not just Initiative A13, but the whole dumb panoply. Uncle Ralph, sign me up for festooned. They say she was last seen by a lake crying. You knew that. Everybody did. A sweet disorder. Pardon my sarong. I'll have a Shirley Temple. Certainly, sir. Do you want a cherry with that? I guess so. It's part of it, isn't it? Strictly speaking, yes. Some of them likes it, others not so much. Well, I'll have a cherry. I can be forgiven for not knowing it's de rigueur. In my commuter mug, please. Certainly. He doesn't even remember me. It was a nice, beautiful day. One of your favorite foxtrots was on. Neckties they used to wear. You could rely on that. My gosh, it's already 7:30. Are these our containers? Pardon my past, because you know, it was like all one piece. It can't have escaped your attention. It can't have escaped your attention that I would argue. How is it supposed to look? Do I wake or sleep? I'd like to mention that today is the birthday of James Tate, who died last summer, who was a very dear friend of mine and a terrific poet. And today his wife, Dara Wire, sent me an email of reproducing a poem that was in his typewriter when he died, no doubt his last poem. We don't know whether it was finished or not, but I thought I would read it to honor him on his birthday. It's prose. I sat at my desk and contemplated all that I had accomplished this year. I had won the hot dog eating contest on Rhode Island. No, I hadn't. I was just kidding. I was the arm wrestling champion in Portland, Maine. False. I caught the largest boa constrictor in southern Brazil in my dreams. I built the largest house out of matchsticks in all the United States. Wow. I caught a wolf by its tail. Yummy. I married the Princess of Monaco. Can you believe it? I fell off of Mount Everest. Ouch. I walked back up again. It was tiring. Snore. I set a record for sitting in my chair and snoring longer than anybody. Awake. I set a record for swimming from one end of my bath to the other in No Count, Nebraska. Blurb. I read a book written by a dove. Great. I slept in my chair all day and all night for 30 days. I ate a cheeseburger every day for a year. I never want to do that again. A trout bit me when I was washing the dishes, but I couldn't catch him. I flew over my hometown and didn't recognize anyone. That's how long it's been. A policeman stopped me on the street and said he was sorry. He was looking for someone who looked just like me. And I'll next read a poem of mine, which has an epigraph from a poem by James Tate. The poem is called Depraved Indifference. And the lines from James are, it was just a typical mid-sized town in the middle of nowhere. The poem is called Burn Down the Town, No Survivors, from his book, Distance from Loved Ones. Customize the event, picking at soul scabs, turning your face optimistically toward the window. There must be a long biography coming out soon, leggings to be worn. And so it is that Earth gets turned over and we all go back into our little houses for a while, and the land is generous. At least that's the way it would have turned out if God or I had any say in the matter. As it fell out, our leaders met in the azalea patch in an election year. Outsiders were welcomed in with wine and cookies, and we all settled down to the business of the day. Repealing the Stamp Act was big on everybody's agenda, stamps being eternally optimistic, as though indebted to someone. That's my definition anyway. Or do we have to be, or does it matter? Meanwhile, the Repair Act languishes. Welcome to the family tree. I am sick and tired at my earliest convenience. This was supposed to make it easier, remember? Hopefully his sister writes back and, thick as the dust on our reports, finds it totally unacceptable, yet not entirely unknown, queering the pitch for kids used to hang around. It was time for the rectory bells, whatever. Mr. Palm from Camp Cute swept by, but he could foretell the cloying sound of water in water. A rusticate, start a restaurant. The broken land was free to be contaminated again. Cocaine fiends and reefer madness. I downed a myosotis shot, and you came back bluer than before. What at home should I do? They don't want me inside. Trouble me a blue barley twist, twisted the right way. You know how he likes it. And when all is said and done, the 5 and 10 set off for the coast one afternoon and were never seen again. Hey, you know how lonely I always am because of you. Now you can chuck it. Forget New York, the monstrous hillocks, like patterns of behavior we never looked for. Hey, it was spooky the way they curved in, climbing for another time if all was well, as surely it must be, Mom and Dad. It was a wizard's fault, that's what I say. This one is called The Mauve Notebook. It has an epigraph from Geoffrey G. O'Brien. The line is, say it enough times and it's August. From his poem, wonderful poem called 3 Years. On a set, you need bush rebels, that numbing little chair while passing. If we knock them out, 7 precincts are going to show up. It looks like you don't need oil. I think it'll be fine. Did she think that might be good? Or for the man who listens to it? Nothing to be done or thought? Section pending? Or for the man who listens to it? An abrupt yawn, history or the other, home economics. Dr. Sing-Along can't find his way back. I don't know about that, but at her lamps do you still see the awkward ceremony, too serious? Leave it that way. Imperfect start, beyond where I was going. Prison outside the perpetual sonata, the only anxiety, since you don't wonder what they don't do, from your red zero heart page, waiting to touch your face. Although they know about it and it literally doesn't exist, no, stay up and go to sleep, unless it falls on the right side of the brain, positioned for so many forgeries, moon nugget. I don't cut them any slack. Assault on a clean front. That's a lot to be turning into. These residents, they start throwing them early. Continue to open your door to mud. Take the noon balloon to Rangoon. Gutta Percha Academy to the place of ice cream. Because really, what difference does it make? When it was time you went home, tears and flowers. See how dirty your hands are. We had a lovely dime. Soon it will be 7, I ask you. Days of 1948. Friends of the deceased pole vault toward us. That's creepy. Not to be infiltrated, his pastures stretched to the moon, the old place. Besides which, he kept telling us how nice we were, and that was something. Was it in the old house on the wires? Thanksgiving earlier, with all the folks you've loved for years, vagabond days, nights of mystery? Yes, boys, that's where my money goes. Do you solemnly participate now, where the tide is? Boink, I love you. Is that what you heard about him that lets you distinguish between us in the old opera house and you wake up screaming, Arriba? Die Meistersinger. This is a prose poem. Only those Am I close enough to the microphone? If I sit here? Only those who actively disliked poetry didn't like him. The others could care less. There were too many other things to worry about, like, is my license expired yet? Fortunately, there were a few in between, those who school themselves to take an interest in everything, which is not to say they're not truly, deeply interested in the things that matter most. To them, he was a special case, something to take home and place on the library table and talk about. To them, he was truly unique, like the first in what would become a memorable series. Mostly these were opera lovers, lovers of all opera, whether by Verdi, Wagner, Gluck, or Puccini. They adored this category, which to them was almost as a false religion, something that would have repercussions later, but now we are enjoying it with no regrets, like a freshly cooked fish. And so he got off lightly amid the ceremony of unsnapping pyramid-folded dinner napkins and making conversation about trivial subjects, the better to enjoy the illicit feast that was rolling down the rails toward them. You'll be my fancy, won't you? Yes, indeed, once I polish off this ephemeral morsel, then we'll be all more or less part of the conversation, which will lead to enlightenment. Not so fast, though. He was raising himself like a pudding on a platter. You guys know where you are? I'm trying to figure out what in hell's going on. So is he too, he added, waving his fork at the piebald host, who pressed a napkin to his exquisite lip. No need to panic, folks. Our friend is but the first in a series that may well turn out to be infinite if past experience is any indicator. The clock is running over, and an octopus wears my wallet now. Who will do the kissing? You will not have heard that. What about the leftover duck? Who will do the kissing? They have gone ice skating. The old sofa. Hello, I have to go in a little while. Well, maybe later, if at all. There hasn't been better than the average atmosphere. After dinner, we're turning all the lamps into magic lanterns. We'll see who knows best. The camera began taking pictures. If they'd like some again after the day after tomorrow, they can have it. One genius throttles two or more. I know. Tell them I said it. And they kill and kill. Beetles don't count anymore, if you hadn't seen one. The stage splashed with finishing light. Take a family of fish, grandpa, grandma, a school of pickerel, and two uncles. What life's about. Eat your victuals. Company is coming. With the audience primed for the Invasion series, what more could I expect from Longing? This season's layered look resembles last year's in that both are harried. Two or more were wanting. The shades are drawn earlier as light expands, always when a productive air settles over the terrain. Bye, philological figs. Friends, die down with me. Shouldn't have done that. House passed away. I'm taking the Lunatic Express. House passed away in 2 different cities. Manny's propaganda film, if she would have done, insisted they have no place. And that's another thing about it. That should tell you something. Thank you.